Greetings, friends. This is my video from about a year and a half ago. Romantic love is an illusion, MGTOW. And I got a comment from some lady the other day. I'm assuming it's a lady based on her picture here, which, you know, is a female face, and the name is female, Mona Moore. So you never know with the internet. However, based on what she had to say, it gives me more reason to think that I'm most likely dealing with a woman. And what she had to say was very poor grammar, so maybe English isn't her first language. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. The prose is really, really poor. Like, there's no punctuation, and just the use of tense is pretty bad. But I'm not saying that's uncommon, but I just put it into Google Translate here just so we could listen to what she asked. I had to tidy it up a little bit so we can listen to what she has to say from a feminine voice.
My neighbor is Muslim's family. Her husband died while he was praying. She noticed he's not moving, so she goes to check on him and she found him dead. So she immediately died. So my question, do you think women can't love?
It's an honest question, but don't give yourself false hope that you're going to be able to get anywhere with it. You might have some solace in thinking that you maybe educated her on an unconscious level. You gave her some stimuli which she's not used to receiving, and then maybe on a subconscious level there's some gears might be moving, probably not. But don't think that you can have a logical debate. And I was originally going to title this "The Futility of Debating with a Woman." That's a little extreme. I mean, generally that's not too far from the truth, though. But here, you know, it's basically a silly dialogue. So I say, women may feel romantic love for a time, but it's not going to last. That lady, the Muslim lady, she could have died for various reasons, probably for losing her companion. She was also probably relying on him for a lot of other stuff. So that would be a huge stress that could trigger health problems. She didn't tell me what the ages were, so if it's a middle-aged couple or older couple, I mean, maybe she had a heart attack. And then I say companion love is not the same as romantic love. It's more like a friendship. And I guess that's not entirely true. It's not necessarily always like a friendship, but in general, women don't love men as much as men love women. And this is, without having to get into all the MGTOW philosophy, I mean, really it's self-evident. I mean, just look at the world. Look how men worship the pussy. And that's different from a romantic love. They worship the goddess, but that's a different video. I'll be getting into the goddess. But so she says to me,
"Oh, so Indian women killed themselves after their husbands died back in history wasn't real love? Or your mother don't love you like you love her?"
It doesn't seem like she really listened to my video because I go into the history here. You know, I go and I talk about the culture and how it's really only been an aristocratic sort of culture at certain times in the past. Within the there was a courtly culture in the Middle Ages, but for the regular average person, I mean, there wasn't even really a middle class several hundred years ago, but in the 20th century, advertising had a lot to do with creating the notion of romantic love for the masses, for the husband and the wife, because marriage is an economic, and has been an economic arrangement, primarily for making children. She's going off here about the Hindu wives burning themselves on the funeral pyres of their dead husbands in India. It's funny how her examples are from Muslim culture and then from Indian Hindu culture. You realize I said to her, you realize Indian women were pressured by the Hindu culture to literally burn themselves alive? That's disgusting. And yes, most mothers don't love their sons the way their sons love them. Love is not an equal thing. It's experienced differently by each sex. You could argue that it was romantic devotion, but that's overlooking the context that they were pressured to some extent. Back in the 19th century, when the British were in control, they were appalled by the continuing practice of Hindu widows literally burning themselves alive because in these families, at least in rural areas, they would, from what I understand, consider a widow basically useless because they can't produce children anymore. they're not able to, they're just sort of a dead weight on the extended clan because they don't really have the nuclear family the way the West does. So, at least not back then. It was widespread enough that it was something that was known about, and the authorities were motivated to stamp it out, partly because that Christianity doesn't like that kind of stuff. The more liberty for the individual human, but that's getting off into another thing here. And let me just make 2 more points on this. Let's say the Hindu woman did burn herself out of romantic love, meaning it really was her desire to do so. This may disprove my statement that romantic love is an illusion, since you could say the widow has had this love for many years. It's true that people commit suicide out of romantic love, but that just means they were tricked by an illusion. I never denied that the feeling is real. Now, let's consider, even if this is the case, does that make romantic love look good if it results in suicide? So even if we grant all of that, I still don't think the Hindu widow committed sati, as it was known, out of what may be called eros, or romantic love. She did it partially out of distress at losing her companion, who may have been her main provider, like what Mona was mentioning in her first example. And the Hindu widow also did it possibly out of, this is the more plausible explanation, out of spiritual devotion to an authority figure, much the same way in ancient China, where some emperors were buried with their servants. I mean, the servants were still alive when they were sealed inside the tomb with their emperor. And doesn't that sound nice? How fair is that? And then or my mother doesn't love me like I love her. Well, it's true. I mean, that doesn't bother me. I mean, my mother did love me. May she rest in peace. But men and women are different. So we're not going to love in the same way. And I already discuss familial love in this video. I'm not even saying that mothers can't love their sons. I'm going to say it's different. But that's love in family. Okay, that's not romantic love. That's a different thing. Significantly, everything overlaps with the female to some degree. Sexual attraction overlaps a little bit with romantic love. And if you believe Freud, then maybe there's a little bit of weird other types of love overlapping here, but it's a distinct category. So the basic idea that Mona Moore can't understand is that there are different kinds of love, and she's threatened by my questioning of romantic love. You could say she has emotional thinking, but all our thoughts come from feeling. My thoughts come from feeling too. It's more like, but I try to be consistent and act in good faith because I value appearing to want to have a dialogue, at least in some good faith, is what I'm trying to say. And that's a feeling for me. I feel that it affects how I try to have a dialogue with someone, but she's not feeling that. She's feeling something different, which is causing her not to really look at what I'm saying or listen to, break down the video. This is something that happens generally if a man tries to have a real debate with a woman. You can debate in a different way, like appealing to her more base instincts, like she complains, you're not cleaning the house, and then you ask, did you have a bad day? So that's responding in a different way than an intellectual debate. You're going right to the heart of the matter. You're saying, oh, did you have a bad day? Because all she really wanted was attention or something. That's not really a debate, though. It's a way of having a dialogue, a constructive interaction with a woman. It's not a real debate. It's not an intellectual debate in any sense with good faith that what you say will actually be listened to, that it will cause some necessary response, or that they will necessarily address what you are saying. Generally, that's not going to happen with women. Maybe with some random women like Karen Strawn, some very small percentile of women. I'm not going to deny that, but women have their instincts. 99% of women are like that. So don't believe this fantasy that not all women are like that, because that's what she's falling into here at the end. The last thing she has to say in response.
Men can love, women can love. Love is not based on gender. If you see women like that who are mean, you make an excuse for yourself to not give any love to women and to use women for sexual exploitation.
love is not based on gender. Well, yes, it is. It is based on gender, but it depends on what kind of love you're talking about. So that's just a very, not helpful and very vague. She's acknowledging that there's mean women, but then I wasn't talking about that in the video. In fact, in the video, I wasn't complaining about mean women. I was referring to history and literature in the video. And I was talking about culture. I wasn't really saying anything about mean women, or she's afraid that men are walking away from the plantation. This is a society where women have all the legal power. Maybe she hasn't really encountered MGTOW philosophy or this kind of thinking. And then to use women for sexual exploitation, well, clearly women don't use men. I mean, that would be a silly suggestion. I mean, how could I even think that women are using men? I mean, that's just a ridiculous idea. That's why women love men, because they don't get anything out of it. It's just unconditional love. Well, obviously, this is ridiculous. Men basically want sex from women. They want sometimes children, and women want resources, and they want emotional fulfillment. And, a man wants some emotional attention, maybe too, or maybe he wants maybe more out of a relationship, but that just becomes companionate love. So that's fine. A man and a woman can stay together for many years. Maybe it works out and they have a good companionship. And that's a companionship love, but that's not this crazy drugged feeling of infatuation, being dumbstruck. Romeo and Juliet are dumbstruck and meet a very destructive end because of their love. This is why I'm trying to warn men about the fantasy of romantic love. This is not about men thinking that some women are mean, some women are mean, or that all women are mean. That's not what this is about. It's just about acknowledging what's really going on here, which is that romantic love has always been an illusion. It only existed for certain periods in history, usually for select groups of society with more power and resources, had more free time at their disposal. Romantic love, it's a real thing insofar that it's a feeling, but the feeling doesn't last because it's very extreme. It's hearts and cupids, sugar and spice and everything nice and all that. So it's like a drug, in other words. No need for confusion, it's an illusion. Spare your delusion, it's an illusion. I reach this conclusion, it's an illusion. Spare your delusion, it's an illusion. Of course it's an illusion, and I go into the history in this video, and I did the diagram here to show you how people come together and then it bursts and then they go their separate ways. I mean, at least in terms of the feeling. Maybe they stay together and they hate each other. But I'm getting too much. I don't want to summarize this video. I will be doing another video about the goddess, so I'll be able to come back to the topic of love in the near future. The goddess, I read a book about courtly love in the 11th to 13th century, the myth, and how it found real expression in the courtly world. So I think that's enough for now. Hasta luego, amigos!